this is Paul Chek, and today I thought I'd share a little something of a concept that I use in my own life and when I'm coaching my clients. I call it riding the bike of relationship. Very simple concept. I'm sure it'll be easy for all of you to connect to it. The concept is you're riding a motorcycle or a bicycle. You got somebody on the back with you. And some of you, I'm sure, have had the experience that if you're going around a corner and the person with you leans too far, it can knock you right over or make you turn too sharp and hit something like a garbage can or a tree or a car. Yet at the same time, if you're trying to go around a corner and they're leaning in the opposite direction, you can't turn the bike, so you end up potentially going off the road or hitting something. And then when somebody's in harmony with you, it's as though there's one being there. As you lean, they lean, so they become connected to you, and there's no disharmony in the use of energy, weight, gravity, and all those neat things that determine where the bike goes and whether or not you get your knees scraped off. So some of the key things we want to remember is that we as individuals have a natural tendency to think that everyone else sees, feels, hears, and perceives things the same way we do. So relationships are really essential because we couldn't truly come to know who we are or what's really happening in the world as reality without other people's viewpoints. If you think simply of the astrological signs, the 12 constellations of the zodiac, psychologically they represent different ways of perceiving the world, different ways of relating, feeling, and processing information. For example, I'm born on the cutoff between Leo and Virgo, and sure enough, I have a lot of the lion qualities, but I also have the analytical qualities of the Virgo. But I can assure you, my wife, who is a Cancer, sees the world significantly differently than I do, and she's also much less lion-like and much more soft in her approach and forgiving and receptive, and I'm, more like the sprinter that can get irritated and attack or potentially can analyze things to the point that maybe it's not healthy anymore because the time spent in analysis could be spent hugging and reaffirming our dream and moving forward. So the key point is, think of each symbol of the zodiac or astrological symbol as an eye that looks through your eyes but shows you how the world is different and what you may not see from your own perspective. And then we come to an opportunity where if you had, for example, one person from each of the signs of the zodiac sitting at a round table with 12 seats, we could say then that any issue you discussed would allow each of the other 11 people listening to hear your perspective, and by the time you went all the way around the table, you would have a holistic sense of what that issue is all about, what can be perceived, and you'd have the most likely opportunity to make an intelligent decision based on a holistic perspective. So the challenges of relationships are essential for spiritual growth because without them we can easily fall into a dogma, an addiction, or repeat behaviors that are really not healthy with regard to our own stated dreams, goals, and desires in life, or our desire to have healthier relationships. I'm sure you've all heard people say things like, oh, there's no good men in the world, or I can't find a good man anywhere, or women are all a pain in the ass. Those are all what happens if we get too encapsulated in ourselves and don't seek to find people that have had different experiences and therefore have different perceptions and ways of accomplishing or connecting things back together so that we can have a sense of wholeness in our life. So my diagram here simply shows a picture of a man riding a bike, and then there's somebody on the back with him. If he's trying to go straight and this person leans to the right, it's going to be a lot of work for him to keep the bike going straight. He's essentially going to have to counter lean to the degree that this person leans, or there's going to be a collision. If he leans this way and the rider also leans this way, then the bike could very well fall over, and vice versa. So there's always a need to be aware of what the person, shall we say, leading the conversation is doing, or the person who's stating a specific want or need or feeling. If you're too antagonistic, then it's as though you're ignoring their right to have wants, needs, and feelings, which means they're no longer a human, they're an object, which the ego resists tremendously. Whenever you turn somebody into an object in a relationship, there's no participation. If you have a bag of books strapped to the back of your bike, it's going to behave the way you behave, and you're not going to learn anything from it. There's no need for a relationship there. It's just another object you're dealing with. But when a human being becomes an object, it diminishes the spirit and the soul of that person, and there's usually a righting reaction that could be objection, it could be tears, it could be any number of things. So we always want to be aware that our ability to become truly conscious depends upon other people, and we can't really do anything significant in the world at all by ourselves. No worthy dream can be done alone. Even if you think that you can do your dream, say your dream's to write a book, and you don't need anybody's help because you're just going to write the book on your computer. Well, somebody made the toilet paper that you wipe your bottom with, someone farmed the food, somebody's made the computer for you, someone made the software, someone's going to support you when things aren't working on your computer, etc., etc. So no matter what we do, everything we do has in some way depended upon the participation of others who hopefully were doing what they love to do. So just a couple of tips to help keep you aware. When you're in a relationship or you're in a conversation with someone, or you're talking to your boss, or you're the boss talking to the employee, try to keep some of these tips in mind so you can avoid unnecessary crashes. And it's okay to crash if you can learn something from it, or it's okay to crash if you're having fun, and that's just a side effect of crashing. Like if you're out partying and you both get shit-faced drunk and you forget where your keys are and you end up sleeping on the floor in somebody's house, we'll call that a crash, but it's okay because you crash together. But if you crash in negative circumstances, it usually creates wounds that can last a long time that require skilled therapists to help you heal. So our tips for today: it's easier to create balance when both parties know where they are going. So what is your dream and what are your values? If you're the one riding the bike, then the person behind you needs to know your dream, your destination, and your values. So if your values are, I don't obey the rules of the road when I'm on a bicycle, I just skip through lights, run across traffic, dodge across lanes. As long as their values are the same, then when you do that, it's not going to scare the hell out of them, and they're not going to try to lean the wrong way or grab your arm and do the kinds of things that nervous passengers do when someone's driving a car too quick that sometimes gets people hurt or killed. So what are your values? First, what's your dream? Where are we going? And what are our values? How do we agree to get there together? And if there's a value conflict, then it's better to know that before you get onto that bike and start navigating any challenging territory, because if you have a values conflict in the middle of trying to balance yourself in motion, you usually bump into things a lot harder. For example, if you're buying a house together, or you're starting a business with somebody, and you still don't know for sure what their dream is and what their values are, you're doing something worse than gambling. Okay? Next, overleaning is like fire on fire or water on water. So if both of you, if you're going around the corner, in other words, making an adjustment, maybe going out to get money because you ran out of money and your financial plans, calculations were off, or an unexpected surprise, or you're scared because you've come to some sort of a situation that's real challenging. If both of you overreact, then you're both going to crash together. If both of you overreact in the yang element, that means you may get excited or anxious or nervous or angry and start fighting a lot. If you remember the fight, flight, freeze reaction to stress. So if you freeze, that would be like doing nothing when you need to do something. And if you underreact, don't take responsibility for the situation, that would be yin on yin or water on water. Things just get wet and boggy and nothing really happens. So we want to look at that Tai Chi symbol. Fire is controlled by water, and fire warms water. So if things get too cold, find ways that you can warm up together. Get back to the foreplay concept and don't take life so seriously. If you take life too seriously, all it does is give you hemorrhoids and makes you want to eat too much sugar and, do drugs or whatever you got to do to get out of yourself. And it's easier just to remember, if you don't have a sense of humor, you're probably missing the point of the whole thing. Okay? Next, too much opposition kills adaptability. Okay, so if you're trying to get somewhere in a relationship and there's just too much opposition, neither of you can effectively adapt. If two people are fighting while they're driving down the road on a bicycle, they're going to crash into something. If two people are fighting while they're driving down the road in a car, somebody's going to get killed, and it might not be either you, it might be some poor kid crossing the street. So you have to be conscious that opposition is natural in a relationship because it's a growth stimulus. But if the opposition becomes a deterrent to the common vision, mission, and values of the relationship, then it's worth reevaluating whether or not you're in relationship with somebody that you're ready to be in a relationship with, and whether or not their dream is authentically synergistic enough with yours to make the relationship worth working on. Sometimes Great Spirit is just teaching us how to say no and move on, and that's a choice we all have to make. Okay? So if you don't have enough adaptability, you can break your body or break the bike. Remember, the bike is holding the two of you. The bike is the one that holds the two of you together. So metaphysically, the one would be consciousness itself, and yin and yang would be the two, the male and the female, or the subject and the object, I and thou. So the bike just means that's what's between us that's common to both of us. Consciousness is common to both of us, but the polarities we express are unique expressions, and to the degree that they produce harmony, then we have a good relationship. And disharmony can also be a form of harmony, because if there's no challenge in the relationship, we can get overinflated in ourselves. In other words, if all my staff always told me that everything I did was great, I could actually believe in my own silliness too much. For example, if my wife never told me I was terrible at grammar and spelling, then I might have made an idiot out of myself publishing books that look like they were written by somebody with an elementary school education. And so we all have to work together. Fortunately, I never have to worry about feedback because I have Vidya right here, and she's fiery when it comes to telling the truth. So I get the mirror put right in my face on a daily basis. So aho to Vidya. Okay? Vidya, by the name Vidya means wisdom. So there you go. It's already built into her. Okay? And then this one says aim, listen and look before you fire. Okay? Zig Ziglar says most people operate as a ready, fire, aim process. Oops, I just killed the neighbor or my wife. So slow yourself down, look and listen. Where are we in line with our values, and are we moving in the same direction for the same common objective or dream? And if we're not, you'll only know if you look, listen, and inquire and pay attention. And that's the basics that all relationships are made of. You can take piles of relationship courses and go spend weekends getting manuals, but if you don't get that right, none of it really matters anyhow. Now this kind of information is right out of my PPS Success Mastery program. The most important lesson of all is PPS Lesson 1, how to find and live your legacy or your overarching dream for your life. Now, many people don't know what their overarching dream is for their life, and PPS Lesson 1 helps you figure that out, helps you identify roadblocks, faulty belief systems, helps you see the beauty of painful relationships and challenges you've had in your life, regardless of how bad they are, and helps give you the 10 components of a dream so you learn how to put those pieces together to progressively recreate your life to be exactly the life that you want. PPS Lesson 2 is all about self-management, teaches you how the mind is programmed, how we get mental viruses, and how we can use the science of brainwashing, which is what got you in trouble in the first place, to clean your brain and create mind programs for ourselves that are dream affirmative. PPS Lesson 3 is goal setting. Those are my basic 3 lessons that are the foundation of the house of the other 9 lessons. So I encourage you to start with Lesson 1, go to Lesson 2, Lesson 3. If you like these little kinds of tips, it's chock-a-block full of that stuff, and much discussion on how to put it together in your life. All sorts of neat exercises with art and inner exploration and fun stuff that really helps people grow. And when you're in the program, you can join the weekly call or bi-weekly calls where I answer everyone's questions, and it's rare that I don't answer everybody's questions. So I'll be there to support you as well. Thank you for joining me today. Hope you enjoy riding the bike of relationships. I'm still out there. Every now and again I get a little scarred now and then, but that's okay. That's what healing's for. And see you soon.